Imagine walking through the quiet, sunlit corridors of a grand healing institution nestled in the rolling hills of St. Helena, California, over a century ago. The morning air is crisp, carrying the scent of pine needles and fresh earth. You can hear the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant soothing sound of a water brook. In this place, men and women who were broken down by the relentless grind of the Industrial Revolution came seeking restoration. They arrived from bustling cities like Chicago and New York, with exhausted bodies, frazzled nerves, and heavy hearts. The physicians and nurses in this sanatorium offered them the pure remedies of nature. They gave them crystal-clear water, abundant sunlight, fresh mountain air, and simple, nourishing food. But the greatest medicine prescribed within those walls, the most powerful remedy for their shattered minds and diseased bodies, was not a physical substance at all. It was a cathedral built not of bricks and mortar, but of time. It was the 24-hour sanctuary of the seventh-day Sabbath. Have you ever wondered why, despite all the medical advances we have today in America, millions of people still struggle with chronic diseases, deep depression, and a constant unyielding fatigue? You wake up in the morning, grab your coffee, check your phone, and rush through another busy day. You manage your household, you go to work, you pay your bills, and you feel a profound, bone-deep exhaustion. You might think this is just a normal part of getting older. But let me ask you something that might change everything about how you feel today. What if the deepest root of our modern exhaustion is tied to a historical theft? What if I told you that a fundamental piece of your biological and spiritual rhythm was stolen centuries ago? Today we are going to uncover a fatal revelation that was hidden for generations. A truth about the Sabbath that, when finally discovered, made the faithful church weep tears of sorrow and joy. It is a truth that the Roman power has tried to conceal, but one that holds the key to your ultimate physical, mental, and spiritual healing. When God created this world, He did not just create the trees, the oceans, the animals, and humanity. After 6 days of shaping the earth, God did something extraordinary. He rested. Now we know the Creator of the universe does not get tired. He did not need to catch His breath. He rested to set an example and to create a special dwelling place in time for us. He blessed the seventh day and made it holy. He infused that specific day with His presence, His peace, and His healing power. Ellen White, in her profound writings, especially in The Ministry of Healing and The Great Controversy, reveals that God designed our bodies and minds to run on a divine 7-day cycle. The Sabbath was given to humanity before sin ever entered the world. It was not a restriction. It was a gift of health. It was a weekly sanatorium where the human soul could disconnect from the labor of the earth and plug directly into the life-giving energy of the Creator. But as the centuries passed, a great tragedy unfolded, a tragedy that would break the rhythm of human health and obscure the character of God. The early Christians kept the seventh-day Sabbath just as Jesus did when He walked the dusty roads of Galilee. They found rest and healing in those sacred hours. However, as the church grew popular and compromised with the pagan world, a shift began to happen. The Roman power, seeking to unite a fractured empire and consolidate its own authority, began to subtly change the laws of God. They looked at the venerable day of the sun, a day dedicated to pagan worship, and slowly elevated it above the holy Sabbath of the Lord. This was not just a simple calendar adjustment. It was a direct attack on the healing sanctuary God had built for His children. The prophet Daniel had warned centuries before that a power would arise that would think to change times and laws, and this is exactly what happened. The Roman church system, through councils and decrees, transferred the solemnity of the seventh day to the first day of the week. They hid the truth under layers of tradition and human authority, and when the faithful believers realized what had been done, when they saw how the law of the Almighty had been trampled upon, the church wept. Imagine the tears of the Waldenses, those brave men and women who fled into the high, freezing Alps of Europe just to keep the true Sabbath holy. They hid in caves, they suffered the loss of all earthly possessions, and they shed their blood, because they knew that to surrender the Sabbath was to surrender their direct connection to the Creator. They understood what modern Americans are only now beginning to realize through the hard lessons of stress and disease. You cannot break God's law without breaking yourself. When Rome changed the day of rest, they did not just alter a religious doctrine. They disrupted the human rhythm of healing. Think about your own body right now. Medical science tells us that our bodies operate on circadian rhythms, daily cycles, that dictate our sleep, our hormones, and our digestion. But chronobiology, the study of biological rhythms, has also discovered circaseptan rhythms, which are 7-day cycles built into our very cells. Your heart rate, your blood pressure, your immune system response, they all fluctuate on a 7-day schedule. God literally programmed the Sabbath into your DNA. When you ignore this divine rhythm, when you push through the weekend trying to catch up on chores, shopping, or work, your body remains locked in a state of high alert. Your cortisol levels stay elevated. Your blood pressure rises. Your heart works harder. You are living in a constant state of fight or flight. Rome wants to conceal the fact that the change of the Sabbath was an arbitrary act of human pride because acknowledging it unravels their claim to supreme authority. They boast that the change of the Sabbath to Sunday is the very mark of their ecclesiastical power, but what they hide is the devastating toll this change has taken on the human family. By removing the true Sabbath, the world was robbed of its divine resting place. We were handed a counterfeit day of rest that holds no inherent biblical blessing and no divine presence. It is like taking a powerful natural medicine and replacing it with a sugar pill, while the patient continues to grow sicker and sicker. The tears of the church throughout history were not just tears of persecution, they were tears of mourning for a world that had lost its way back to the Garden of Eden. The Sabbath is a memorial of creation. Every time the sun sets on Friday evening and the sacred hours begin, it is an invitation from God to return to Eden for 24 hours. It is a time to lay down your burdens, your anxieties, your financial worries, and your physical pains. In the sanatoriums of the early Adventist pioneers, the Sabbath was the highlight of the week. Even the sickest patients felt a change in the atmosphere. The treatments were paused, the bustling activity of the medical staff quieted down, and a profound holy stillness settled over the campus. Patients who had not slept well in months found themselves resting deeply. Minds that were tortured by guilt and anxiety found peace in the assurance that they were loved by a Creator who demanded nothing of them on that day except their presence. My dear friend, you might be listening to this and feeling the weight of your own exhaustion. You might be dealing with high blood pressure, arthritis, or a heart condition. You might be carrying the emotional burden of a fractured family or the stress of surviving in this fast-paced American economy. The devil wants you to believe that you must keep running. He wants you to believe that if you stop, everything will fall apart. He uses the hustle of modern life to keep you so distracted and so tired that you never have the energy to hear the gentle whisper of the Holy Spirit. This is the fatal revelation. The enemy of souls used the Roman system to hide the Sabbath because he knows that a rested Christian is a powerful Christian. He knows that when you step into the sacred hours of the seventh day, your mind becomes clear, your body begins to heal, and your spiritual eyes are opened to his deceptions. Ellen White wrote beautifully about how nature itself testifies to the Sabbath. If you walk through a quiet forest on a Sabbath morning, you can almost feel the trees and the birds rejoicing in the rest of their Creator. God wants to bring that same natural restoration into your living room, into your bedroom, into your very bloodstream. The Sabbath is not a heavy burden of rules about what you cannot do. That is another lie the enemy has used to keep people away from it. The Pharisees in Jesus' time made the Sabbath a heavy yoke, a day of rigorous restrictions. Jesus wept over their blindness, just as the later church wept over Rome's deception. Jesus boldly declared that the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. It was made for your healing. It was made for your joy. It was made to be the ultimate weekly sanatorium for your soul. When you begin to see the Sabbath not as a theological debate, but as a life-saving prescription from the great physician, everything changes. You start to realize why the world is so sick. We have forgotten the rest of God. We have traded the peace of the seventh day for the convenience and the compromise of human traditions. But the beautiful truth, the hope that shines through this dark history, is that God's law has never changed. The blessing he placed on the seventh day at the dawn of creation is still there waiting for you. The sanctuary in time was never destroyed by the decrees of Rome. It was only hidden. And today, God is lifting the veil. He is calling his children back to true worship and true health. Imagine what your life would look like if for one entire day every week you completely disconnected from the demands of this world. No stressful emails, no paying bills, no agonizing over the news. Just 24 hours of pure communion with God, nature, and your loved ones. 24 hours where you allow your nervous system to completely reset. This is the secret that the pioneers of health discovered. This is the truth that made the martyrs willing to die rather than surrender it. The Sabbath is the seal of the living God, and it is the ultimate remedy for a dying world. As we continue, we will look deeper into how this hidden truth exactly impacts your physical brain, your heart health, and your emotional stability. We will uncover the specific ways the enemy has tried to replace this healing time with modern distractions and how you can reclaim the Sabbath blessing in your own home starting this very week. There is so much more to this beautiful revelation, and I want to walk you through it step by step so you can experience the profound peace that God has prepared for you. Let us slow down for a moment and truly understand the weight of these tears. I want you to picture a scene from the mid-19th century in a small drafty farmhouse in New England. The winter wind is howling outside, rattling the window panes, but inside the room is quiet except for the crackle of the fireplace. A husband and wife sit at a simple wooden table, illuminated only by the soft, flickering light of an oil lamp. An old, heavy family Bible rests open between them. They have been studying for hours, tracing the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation. The husband looks up from the worn pages, his eyes filled with a mixture of awe and deep sorrow. His voice trembles as he breaks the silence in the dimly lit room. "Martha," he whispers, "we have been blind. The whole world has been blind. Look at the commandment. It says the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. It does not say the first day. It never says Sunday." His wife leans closer, tracing the faded ink with her weathered fingers. She has been a faithful woman all her life, attending church every Sunday, believing she was honoring her Lord. But as the truth of the fourth commandment washes over her, a profound heartbreak takes hold of her spirit. "But how can this be?" she asks, her voice breaking. "How could so many good people, our parents, our grandparents, our pastors, how could they all be wrong? Who did this to us?" As they dig deeper into history, the fatal revelation becomes clear. They read the boasts of the Roman church councils. They read how the papal power claimed the authority to transfer the solemnity of the Sabbath to Sunday. They realize that the church system they had implicitly trusted, the legacy of tradition handed down through the centuries, had boldly altered the very law of the Almighty. And in that quiet farmhouse, the tears begin to fall. Martha weeps not just for herself, but for a world that has been robbed. She cries because she realizes that humanity has been stripped of the divine seal of its creator. This was the weeping of the faithful church. It was the crushing emotional realization that the enemy had orchestrated the greatest theft in human history and disguised it as religion. Rome hid the Sabbath beneath centuries of ritual and tradition, and in doing so, they severed the vital cord of physical and spiritual restoration that God had woven into the fabric of time. Now bring that historical heartbreak into your own life today. Think about the tears you have shed in the quietness of your own car, or sitting at your kitchen table late at night when the house is finally asleep. You are exhausted. You are dealing with aches and pains that never seem to go away. Your blood pressure is creeping up and your doctor looks at you with a serious expression and says you need to reduce your stress or your heart is going to give out. You nod your head, but inside your mind is screaming. How? How do I reduce my stress when the world demands so much of me? How do I stop when the bills are piling up, when my children need me, when my job threatens to replace me if I do not answer that email on a Sunday afternoon? My dear friend, the exhaustion you feel is the direct result of Rome's deception. When the world accepted a counterfeit day of rest, it accepted a counterfeit peace. Look at how Sunday is treated in America today. Is it a day of true rest? No. It has become the busiest day of the week. It is the day for catching up on chores, mowing the lawn, going to crowded grocery stores, watching stressful sporting events, and preparing for the anxiety of Monday morning. There is no divine presence in Sunday. God never placed his healing sanctuary in the first day of the week. Ellen White wrote with deep medical and spiritual insight about the human nervous system. She understood long before modern science confirmed it that the brain and the body are intimately connected. When your mind is in a constant state of anxiety, when you are always rushing and striving, your brain releases a steady stream of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals are meant for emergencies. They are meant to help you escape danger. But when they are constantly pumping through your veins, they become a slow poison. They inflame your arteries, they weaken your immune system, and they literally shrink the memory centers of your brain. God knew the demands of life would try to crush you. He knew the devil would build a society designed to keep you so busy that your health would break and your faith would wither. That is why he commanded us to remember the Sabbath day. He knew we would forget. He knew Rome would try to make us forget. Imagine another scene. This time we are back at the Grand Sanatorium in St. Helena. A wealthy businessman from Chicago has just arrived. He is suffering from severe digestive issues, heart palpitations, and a deep, crippling depression. He has money, he has success, but he has no peace. He sits in the office of the head physician, nervously tapping his cane on the floor. "Doctor," the man says, his voice tight with anxiety. "You must give me a pill or a tonic. I need to get back to my factories. I'm losing money every day I am here. Fix me quickly so I can return to my life." The wise physician looks at the wealthy man with eyes full of compassion. He does not reach for a prescription pad. Instead, he speaks with a calm, steady voice. "Sir, your factories are what is killing you. Your body is a machine far more complex than anything you own, and you have been running the engine without ever letting it cool down. I can give you water treatments, I can give you fresh food, but until you learn to stop running from the rest of God, your heart will never heal." The businessman scoffs. "I cannot stop. If I stop, everything falls apart." And there it is. The great lie of the enemy. The lie that keeps America sick. We believe that we are the ones holding our world together. We believe that if we do not work, if we do not strive, if we do not control every outcome, our lives will collapse. The Sabbath is God's weekly test of our faith. When the sun goes down on Friday evening, God is asking you a deeply personal question. Do you trust me? Do you trust me enough to let go of your business, your worries, your finances, and your striving for 24 hours? Do you believe that I can hold your world together while you rest in my arms? When you step into the true Sabbath, something miraculous happens to your physiology. Medical researchers who study the health habits of Seventh-day Adventists often marvel at their longevity and lower rates of heart disease. They point to the diet and the clean lifestyle, but they often overlook the most crucial element. The Sabbath is a biological reset button. When you truly keep the Sabbath, when you turn off the news, close the laptop, and step out into nature, your nervous system begins to shift. Your breathing slows down. The amygdala, the fear center of your brain, begins to quiet. The constant drip of adrenaline stops. Your blood pressure naturally lowers. Your heart, which has been beating a frantic rhythm all week, finally finds a steady, peaceful pace. Ellen White tells us that the religion of the Bible is not detrimental to health but is the very best medicine. The Sabbath is the physical manifestation of Jesus' words when he said, "Come unto me all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." But the enemy hates this rest. He hates it with a vicious passion. That is why the Roman power sought to obscure it. If the devil can keep you exhausted, he can keep you irritated with your spouse. If he can keep you exhausted, he can keep you snapping at your grandchildren. If he can keep you exhausted, he can make you so depressed that you doubt the love of God. The tears of the church were shed because they saw the trap the devil had laid for humanity. They saw that by hiding the Sabbath, the enemy was tearing down the only fortress that could protect the human mind from the crushing weight of the world. Think about the profound emotional release of finally discovering this truth. Imagine that pioneer woman, Martha, wiping the tears from her eyes as the morning sun begins to rise over the New England hills. The sorrow of the deception is still there, but it is quickly being replaced by a radiant, beautiful hope. She looks at her husband and a smile breaks across her weary face. "Joseph," she says, "we have found it. We have found the peace that was missing. We can rest now, truly rest." That is the invitation being extended to you today. You do not have to carry the heavy burdens anymore. You do not have to be a slave to the endless cycle of American consumerism and stress. The fatal revelation that Rome wants to hide is that you have a choice. You can choose to step out of their system of exhaustion and step into God's sanctuary of healing. When you begin to observe the seventh-day Sabbath, you are making a bold declaration to the universe. You are saying, "I am not a machine. I am not defined by what I produce or what I earn. I am a beloved child of the Creator of the universe, and my Father has built a palace in time just for me." This realization brings a deep emotional healing. So many people over the age of 45 carry a heavy load of guilt. Guilt over past mistakes, guilt over strained relationships, guilt over not doing enough. The Sabbath is a weekly reminder of grace. You cannot earn the Sabbath. You cannot work for it. It arrives every Friday at sunset, regardless of whether you had a successful week or a terrible week. It wraps its arms around you and whispers you are loved exactly as you are. Stop striving, be still, and know that I am God. The drama of the Sabbath is not just a historical battle between the early church and the papal power. It is a battle happening right now, in your own mind and in your own home. The enemy will throw every distraction he can find to keep you from this rest. He will make your phone ring. He will bring urgent matters to your attention. He will stir up family drama just as the sun is setting on Friday. He does this because he is terrified of what will happen if you actually experience the true healing power of God's holy day. As we move forward, we must look at the practical steps. How do we actually transition from a life of constant exhaustion to a life anchored in the Sabbath rest? How do we prepare our homes, our minds, and our hearts to receive this divine medicine? And what are the specific promises God has given to those who repair the breach and restore His holy day in their lives? The journey of healing is just beginning, and the most beautiful part of this revelation is about to unfold. Let us bring this profound truth right into the center of your living room. I want you to picture your typical Friday afternoon. If you are like most Americans over the age of 45, Friday is a day of absolute depletion. You have spent the entire week navigating a maze of responsibilities. You have fought through traffic. You have dealt with difficult people at work. You have managed the endless demands of your household. And by the time Friday evening arrives, you are running on empty. You probably collapse onto the couch, turn on the television to numb your mind and order takeout, because the very thought of cooking one more meal feels like climbing a mountain. Your body is aching. Your mind is racing with the anxieties of the coming week, and your spirit feels incredibly dry. Now I want you to imagine a completely different reality, a reality that God designed specifically to rescue you from that exact state of exhaustion. Imagine that as the sun begins its slow golden descent on Friday afternoon, a gentle shift happens in your home. Instead of chaos, there is a deliberate, beautiful preparation. Ellen White, in her deep wisdom regarding the family and health, spoke beautifully about the preparation day. She taught that Friday is the day to prepare our homes, our food, and our hearts for the arrival of the King. Imagine that the house has been tidied up earlier in the day. A simple, nourishing meal has already been prepared and is warming on the stove. The heavy burdens of secular work, the bills, the stressful emails, they have all been put away out of sight. As the sun finally dips below the horizon, you gather with your spouse, your children, or perhaps just sit quietly by yourself in a comfortable chair. You open the Bible. You sing a simple hymn of praise. You breathe in deeply. In that exact moment, as the sacred hours of the seventh day begin, something miraculous happens inside your physical body. Because you have intentionally stopped striving, your nervous system receives a powerful signal that the emergency is over. The cortisol that has been flooding your veins all week begins to recede. Your breathing deepens. The tight knot in your stomach begins to loosen. You are no longer a worker, a manager, a patient, or a debtor. You are simply a child, resting in the arms of your Creator. This is the climax of the week. This is the weekly sanatorium that Rome tried to hide from the world. The papal power wanted humanity to believe that rest was just a matter of going to a church building on Sunday morning for an hour and then returning to the stressful labor and worldly amusements of the day. They stripped the 24-hour sanctuary of its holiness. But when you reclaim the true Sabbath, you are reclaiming your God-given right to heal. You might be asking yourself right now, why is it so hard to rest? Why does it feel like every time Friday afternoon rolls around, something goes wrong? The car breaks down, the kids start arguing, your boss calls with an urgent crisis, or you and your spouse have a sudden, inexplicable disagreement. Let me tell you a spiritual truth that will change the way you see your weekends forever. The enemy of your soul fights the hardest just before the sun goes down on Friday. He knows that if you cross that threshold into the Sabbath hours with a peaceful heart, his power over your mind will be broken for an entire day. He orchestrates those Friday afternoon crises because he is terrified of the Sabbath. He knows that the Sabbath is the seal of the living God. It is the protective mark placed upon the minds of those who choose to trust the Creator over the beast system of endless labor and human tradition. The prophet Isaiah spoke of a time when God's people would wake up and realize what had been lost. In the 58th chapter of Isaiah, God gives a beautiful prophetic promise. He says that his people will be called the repairers of the breach, the restorers of paths to dwell in. What is this breach? It is the gaping hole that Rome tore in the law of God when they removed the fourth commandment. When you choose to step away from the counterfeit Sunday tradition and begin keeping the seventh-day Sabbath holy, you are literally fulfilling Bible prophecy. You are repairing the breach. You are standing with the Waldenses who hid in the snowy Alps. You are standing with the early pioneers who wept over their open Bibles. You are standing with Jesus Christ, who went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day as his custom was. But Isaiah does not stop there. He says that if you turn away your foot from doing your own pleasure on my holy day and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, then you shall delight yourself in the Lord. Notice that word, delight. The devil has lied to the world for centuries, painting the Sabbath as a day of gloomy restriction, a day where you sit in a dark room and are forbidden to smile. That is a miserable counterfeit. The true Sabbath is a delight. It is a day of profound joy. Imagine waking up on a Sabbath morning. There is no alarm clock jarring you out of sleep. You wake up naturally feeling the gentle morning light streaming through your window. You do not reach for your phone to check the news, because the news of this broken world has no place in God's sanctuary of time. Instead, you step outside. You take a walk through a park or a quiet wooded area near your home. Ellen White wrote that nature is God's second book. On the Sabbath, the trees, the flowers, the singing birds, and the vast blue sky all speak to your heart with a clarity you cannot hear on a busy Tuesday. As you walk, your blood pressure is naturally lowering. The fresh air is filling your lungs, bringing vital oxygen to your brain and your heart. Your joints, which ache from the stress of the week, begin to feel looser. You look at the intricate design of a simple leaf, and you are reminded that the God who engineered the microscopic veins of that leaf is the same God who is holding your life together. If he cares for the sparrow, he cares for your finances. If he clothes the lilies of the field, he will provide for your family. The anxiety that has been crushing your chest melts away in the warmth of the Sabbath sun. This is how the fatal revelation is resolved. We defeat the deception of Rome not by arguing with people, not by engaging in bitter theological debates, but by living out the beautiful healing reality of the Sabbath. When your neighbors look at you and see a person who is not consumed by the frantic pace of the American rat race, they will wonder what your secret is. When your doctor looks at your improving health markers and asks what you have changed, you can tell them that you have discovered the oldest natural remedy in the history of the world. God is calling you today to make a decision. The tears that the early church wept were tears of sorrow for a lost truth, but today, those tears can become tears of immense relief and joy for you. You do not have to wait until you are perfectly healthy to keep the Sabbath. You do not have to wait until your family is perfectly in agreement. You can start this week. You can look at the calendar, see Friday approaching, and make a quiet, firm decision in your heart. You can say, Lord, I am exhausted. I am broken. I have been running on the world's schedule and it is killing me. This Friday, when the sun goes down, I'm going to stop. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to step into your rest. If you are carrying the heavy burden of chronic illness, let the Sabbath be your weekly appointment with the great physician. Use those 24 hours to drink plenty of pure water, to eat simple plant-based foods that do not tax your digestion, to rest your weary body, and to fill your mind with the uplifting promises of Scripture. Let your home become the sanatorium. You do not need to travel to the hills of California to find healing. God will bring the healing directly into your bedroom, directly into your living room, directly into your heart, if you will only make space for Him in time. The system of Rome wants to keep you distracted. They want to keep you arguing over politics, stressing over the economy, and working yourself into an early grave. They want to hide the fact that the Creator of the universe has already provided the ultimate escape route. The Sabbath is your weekly emancipation proclamation. It declares that you are no longer a slave to Egypt. You are no longer a slave to Babylon. You are a free citizen of the heavenly kingdom. As you look toward the future, do not let fear dictate your steps. Yes, the world is growing darker. Yes, the prophecies indicate that the battle over worship and the day of rest will only intensify in the final days of Earth's history, but you do not need to be afraid. The Sabbath was given as a sign between God and His people forever, that they might know that He is the Lord who sanctifies them. When you rest on the seventh day, You are receiving the seal of God's protection. You are hiding yourself in the cleft of the rock. Take a deep breath right now. Feel the air filling your lungs. That breath is a gift from the Creator, and the time He has given you is also a gift. Do not let the enemy steal one more weekend from you. Reclaim your health. Reclaim your peace of mind. Reclaim your family time. The fatal revelation has been exposed. The truth is shining brightly, and the doors of the sanctuary in time are wide open, waiting for you to enter. May the Lord bless you deeply as you prepare your heart for His holy day. May your Friday evenings become moments of profound peace. May your Sabbath mornings be filled with the joyful songs of creation. And may your weary body and anxious mind find complete and total restoration in the loving arms of the great Physician who made you, who loves you, and who is calling you to rest.